This is a story of humble beginnings, of determination and hard work, and it captures our imagination. Hi everyone, I'm Deepa Menon and welcome to Artist Today. We are honored this week to talk to Olympic gold medalist Taekwondo Grandmaster Herb Perez, whose work not only in the realm of Taekwondo but also in the community is praiseworthy and beyond words. Master Perez is no stranger to developing talent. Since 1986, he has been developing national and international champions nationwide. He has been searching for a new home and selected Foster City as the Gold Medal Martial Arts Center's first studio. His programs build life skills that create better citizens and help children achieve their goals. Master Perez's dedication to the sport of Taekwondo is complete. He still trains daily and thinks about Taekwondo constantly. This sport teaches everything you need to succeed in life: patience, self-discipline, determination, and perseverance. There are no excuses in the world of Taekwondo. It's a very honest place to be. I have always felt that students I teach, it's not how you start, but how you finish, says Master Perez. Hi everyone, we are in Herb Perez's studio in Foster City. We are really lucky to catch him before he takes his flight tomorrow morning to East Coast, where he is meeting a federation. I am so honored and privileged to talk to you, Master Perez. I, along with a lot of other Bay Area viewers, would like to talk to you not only about your experience of your gold medal, the whole atmosphere, the feeling that you go through when you win it, as well as your work as Grandmaster here.
You know, I was very fortunate to have a great career, and it wasn't based in part on me, but it was more the pursuit of what we do. So as a very young man, I had a great instructor, Master Kim, and he was a 1967 Korean national champion. He instilled in me, I didn't realize it at the time, but great life skills and great life skill values. So the life skills of perseverance, determination, and patience were important to him. He taught them in his daily lessons to us, and as a result of those, I used those in my pursuit of my academic career, my athletic career, my social and my familial career. So I was very fortunate to have that sort of instruction early, and then realized that it would also benefit me in many other pursuits in my life.
I am Deepa Menon, classical artist, painter, part musician, and an art lover, and I am on a quest to explore the passions behind artists and watch them as they create unique art. Welcome to Artist Today. So, Master Perez, I want to talk to you about the whole feeling and the whole hard work that you did for your gold medal, and tell us about your experiences.
You know, for me, it was about the amount of training that I did. So you really cannot accomplish any goal unless you put the time in, whether it's dance or music or Taekwondo. And I was fortunate to be a musician before Taekwondo, so I learned early on that practice was really crucial. So there was, you know, obviously a very good book that everybody reads now and about the amount of time, but it's about correct. It takes about 10,000 hours of practice to get a world-class performance.
Wow.
So I was training from the age of 9, and in addition to that, I was training when I got a little bit older, 7 to 8 hours per day, 6 days a week, and in some cases 7 days per week. And I found that to be effective, but also the type of training I was doing. So I literally moved to Korea to train with some of the best in the world, and then competed around the world in order to test my skills.
Oh, that is wonderful. So you moved from here to Korea just to just to train further?
Because I realized in order to be the best, you have to surround yourself with the best that you can find. In the United States at that time, there were only a handful of people that were performing at an international level, and even those weren't winning gold medals, they were winning bronze medals. I realized that the best place and the best athletes in the world at that point were in Korea. So in my college, I think it was my freshman year, I made a decision to take off and go to Korea. I got a letter of introduction from my instructor, got on a plane with my friend and I, and met the professor of the university at the airport, and stayed for 3 months. And as a result, I came back that year and won I won my first international gold medal. I beat Korea in an international tournament, became world champion, and then continued on and won for 8 straight years. And every year I would go back to Korea for 2 or 3 months to train again.
That is a commitment for sure.
Born to Polish and Spanish immigrant parents, Herb observed at a very early age the importance of community, education, family, and hard work. Through years of sacrifice and training, which culminated in the realization of his Olympic dream, Perez learned the value of patience, determination, and perseverance. In 1992, Herb Perez achieved his dream. He entered the Olympic arena in Barcelona and won the United States' only gold medal in the Olympic sport of Taekwondo. In 1992, after being awarded the Olympic gold medal in Taekwondo, he has received numerous international awards as a Taekwondo and martial arts champion and was inducted into the Taekwondo Hall of Fame. He is a 6-time US national team captain as well as a 3-time winner of the Pan American Championships. He was also named the United States Olympic Committee Taekwondo Athlete of the Year.
So for something like Olympics, you have seen athletes train, you have seen artists train. So what kind of commitment and what kind of a dedication does a Olympic gold medalist or anybody who participates need?
You know, so Edwin Moses, who was a great track athlete in the 100-meter hurdles, 110-meter hurdles, he talked about his commitment and his practice schedule, and he won, I believe it was over 100 races in a row. And he said as he trained, he got smarter about his training. So it wasn't a quantity at that point for him, but for me it was in the beginning. But the level of commitment is more about the idea that you need to refine your craft, you have to understand what your end goals are, and then you have to make your practice focus on that. So many times I see people, whether it's art, music, dance, instead of focusing on what they need to do to get better, they focus on what they are good at doing. The things that they feel like they can't do are not their strengths, they avoid as opposed to address. So I was very pragmatic in my approach to my training. I focused on the things that were my weaknesses to improve them. I still maintained my strengths and built upon them, but I did something slightly different. Rather than trying to be the best or better than the best, I looked at the weaknesses of the best and tried to figure out how I could use my strengths to avail myself of those weaknesses. And that was the secret to beating Korea, and quite frankly beating most of the other people, was better to address what they were weak at and then to make my strengths fit into those niches.
And that is amazing, amazingly well said. And that is something the youth of today and the young generation need to really internalize in order to do something that they really believe in and to be successful at it.
I think that's true, and I think that's true in anything like academics. So when you look at the average student now trying to get into Stanford, Stanford accepts 5% of the applicants, so 66,000 applicants and they take 3,000. So it's really about defining yourself and figuring out what is unique about you that can add to that environment, because that's what they're looking for. Rather than trying to do the usual 4.4 grade point average and all that, you have to do that, that's just a given. But what is it that's going to be unique about you that's going to add something to the conversation that's different, whether that's trying to get into a university, trying to become an artist of some sort, trying to become a musician, certainly that's part of it. You know, in music, which was my other, and I still one of my passions, it's not any longer about what I say that other people say, but it's more about my interpretation of what I say as I play my instrument. And Taekwondo was like that for me as well. I tried to find unique things about me that were indefensible for others, and that gave them trouble. And I was successful in that in different ways.
To be step, round, kick, it looks like this. And right from there, he steps back, double kick. Very nice, good. So again, you can see his partner's giving him opportunities. He's doing matching steps. So he's matching the motion. When he moves forward, he moves backwards. When he moves forwards, he moves backwards. Looks like this. Go! Very nice, good. Again, now what we're building in the athletes, they're learning how to react to the technique. So if he steps in deep, he has to step back deep. If he steps in short, he has to step back short. If he doesn't move at all, he has to kick and jump up. If he moves back, he has to kick and go in.
We are in the office, in Master Perez's office, and I see these beautiful pictures of students doing Taekwondo and of medals and of Master Perez here, and we will be focusing on some of the certificates that he himself has got. And I wanted to talk to you about your studio as well. You have established a studio here in Foster City. And why did you particularly start your studio in Foster City first?
When I came to Foster City, what I saw was a community of great families. And what I mean by that is that the families here, we have a lot of families that respect education, value it. They distill that idea and then transfer it to their children. They have created a community that values education, and as a result, the things that they choose to focus on are educational based. So it was a perfect environment for us because we are a life skill development center. We teach Taekwondo, but we use Taekwondo as a vehicle to teach life skill development. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the families here, it was not a difficult conversation for them to understand what I do and how I do what I do. And our success in here in a large part is due to the types of families that live in Foster City. We have an Asian community that is predominantly Chinese and Indian. We have a community that values education. They're well educated. They come from top tier schools. They have great expectations for their children. They have great expectations for their teachers. So when they come to me, they're asking questions that are based on that as opposed to questions that are kind of silly. They understand the value of commitment, so rather than playing soccer for 3 months, they know this is a pursuit. This, in fact, is a lifetime pursuit. So on an annual basis here, we have students, somewhere between 100 to 200 students every year that achieve black belt. We have 800 students in this facility. In the San Mateo County area, we have 2,000 students. And these numbers are, we're in the top 1% of 1% of schools in the country that have the kind of numbers we have. But when people talk to us about our success, what I tell them, it's not us, it's our families. So at the end of the day, we picked a fantastic community with like-minded values. We picked like-minded students, like-minded parents. And when they come to visit with us, we tell them up front, this is what we value. And so we choose our members much as our members choose us. So it's kind of a bilateral choice.
That is awesome because Foster City is a city of professionals. It started off with all these professionals coming in, settling down in Foster City, and this community is it's full of families. It's a beautiful community, and you not only made it your home but also the center of your work. And I have spoken to so many people about Master Perez, and the first thing I hear is that you are such a hard worker and such an inspiration to all the kids and adults like me. I was so inspired by Master Perez's work and his work in the community. So when you became a council member after being the chairman of the Parks and Recs, what motivated you to run for mayorship?
So I was in Korea for an event for the World Taekwondo Federation. I was serving as the chairman of the education committee. And at that time I got a call from the current mayor, John Karamis, and asked me if I would consider running for city council because he had seen my work in the community and my work on various committees and thought I would be a good fit. So I said, well, let me talk to my wife and think about it for a while and then think about the community, because I had served on the Olympic Committee's board of directors, the executive committee for the Olympic Committee, the high strategic planning force for them, along with Mike Leonard, Henry Kissinger,
And
and
I've
people
always
like that.
wondered, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Master Perez, how you had the time to run for mayorship when I knew you were on the board of the Olympic Committee, and how did you have the time?
Well, life is about stages. So for me, I had been fortunate. My academic career was I had finished most of my academic career and was just doing some graduate work. I was working for the Olympic Council of Asia as the Director of International Relations, and I had some flexibility. I had made a decision to build what we have in Foster City, so I was committed to the community and not traveling as much. So at that point, it was just really a question of whether the community needed or wanted my expertise, and so the voters chose at some point to decide they needed it, and they wanted me to help them. And what I noticed was, as much as you had spoken about our community, the community had changed. When this community first started, it was predominantly a Caucasian community by about 89%. We are now a diverse community, where in fact 51 to 52% of it is diverse. And along those lines, the needs of the community had shifted to more of a white-collar, tech, well-educated community, as opposed to just blue-collar workers and upper echelon workers. So what the community wanted and needed was not being, in my opinion, reflected by the leadership. And so as such, I thought it would be good to have that voice heard. And as much as we had asked you to join the Park and Rec Committee, we're very honored that you accepted. And we wanted to select people that represented our current community and include them in the decisions we made. So we have the Holi Festival now.
Yes.
We have the Lunar New Year's Festival. We have the Polynesian Festival. And we have a very diverse group of events and things that we think are important to our community. And that will continue to evolve. So I think it is imperative and incumbent upon the community to make sure that people are willing to sacrifice and come forward and serve as leaders for the community. Otherwise, your views will not be reflected.
Yes,
You just have to hope that they are reflected.
Yes, that is true.
Hi, I'm Deepa Menon, Artistic Director and founder of Netra Center for Arts and Canvas and Cafe. Netra is your one-stop place for the arts. Please connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. Netra has 2 locations, Foster City and Mountain View. Please check our website out at netraarts.com and canvasandcafe.com.
Now this here turns. Go. Step punch. Hey. Step punch. Hey. The other side. Go. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Try it. So remember, when you step from here. So what? Michelle. Go, Michelle. Go. What? Same thing again. Another front center. Go.
So once the Foster City studio was established, which one was your first studio outside of Foster City?
What we noticed was Foster City grew, had unparalleled growth, and then we noticed that a lot of it was coming from various communities around us, surrounding communities. So we tried to identify a second community that would be good, and we realized that Burlingame would be the next logical step. So we went to Burlingame a couple of years later and started the Burlingame facility. We then had growth there as well, and we realized that the next logical place would be either San Mateo or Belmont, and we saw an opportunity in Belmont that was fantastic, and now that's actually has surpassed Burlingame as it was. And then San Carlos was next, and then finally Mountain View. We invested in a building and in our business in a larger sense, and over the next coming years we'll be looking at probably 4 or 5 more locations and empowering our assistant instructors to become head instructors.
That is an amazing, and I think it's an amazing feat that you have come to Foster City and achieved all this. But the personality that you are, I am sure you will grow all over the Bay Area, and you will have hundreds and thousands of students.
You know, one of the things that we teach here that I think is important is goal achievement. And what I mean by that is, I think people that are focused on goals, a specific goal, can have a more fulfilling life, in the sense that they can have something that they focus on, they can develop a plan on how to reach it, they can get involved in it. And so post-Olympics, I was fortunate to choose goals. First it was law school, then it was a television show, then it was my first business venture, then it was coaching program for the US Olympic Committee. And so I was very fortunate in a very methodical sense. So that I didn't come to that by myself. I came to that as a result of philosophy. My undergraduate was in philosophy, and I realized there were stages in life, and in those stages, you acted in a different way. So I'm closely approaching the stage where I'm supposed to be a mentor or a torchbearer for those underneath me and guiding them. And so, in a strange way, my martial art career is allowing me that opportunity. I have been fortunate to have not just success in the arena and to be considered an athlete, but to have academic and as you've mentioned, some civic success and some philanthropic success. So as a result of that, that is my message to young people and my son and my daughter. And it's really about what is it that you're going to set that matters to you? How are you going to define success? But more importantly, what are you willing to do to achieve success?
I wanted to tell our viewers, I'm sure everybody knows about Taekwondo, but what in your thoughts or opinion is Taekwondo and the martial arts system? And I've personally known that you can be much more focused and much more there's determination, there's focus, there's discipline in any art form. But please tell us what Taekwondo is and where it originated from.
So Taekwondo is a martial art that was derivative of many other martial arts. So basically, depending upon who you read, I believe all martial arts came from India. So India and its spread of Buddhism through Asia went to China, and then from China went to Japan, and then ultimately from Japan went to Korea. So the Japanese, during their occupation period, took Koreans to Japan to learn, to study in schools, and they learned martial arts. They then came back to Korea and taught Kung Sudo, which was literally translates as Kung Sudo, which means Korean karate. So they actually used the Chinese characters for karate. The Koreans then chose to change it and make it a Korean martial art in about the 40s. And they started to define it, become nationalistic about it, and they created Tang Sudo and Taekwondo. Taekwondo literally means to be smashing with the foot of the fist. It now, over the years, has evolved into an Olympic sport. It is a full contact sport with safety equipment and electronic scoring at the Olympic Games. It has been in the Olympics since 1988 and continues to thrive as a national sport. This year it's become part of the Peace Corps and become part of the UN's celebration of sport. So in my humble opinion, it's a very good martial art as far as the actual practicality of defense. It's based on the legs, so it's terrific for children and women because it's very powerful for them. But the life skill development stuff, I think, is the most important part of what we teach. Now, we are not alone in that. There are great basketball coaches, Phil Jackson, John Woodson. He is a UCLA coach, I think, and he had this whole system of life skill development that he used with his athletes. So it's not Taekwondo alone. You can learn it from dance, you can learn it from painting. It depends on the instructor. And the instructor should be teaching the value of hard work, discipline, focus, perseverance, determination, honesty, and that's what we focus on a day-to-day basis here on.
Every year since 1988, Perez has trained 25 to 30% of the men's national winners. He is active in promoting the martial arts, conducting seminars and training camps. In demand as a teacher, coach, producer and seminar leader, Perez is also director of international projects for the Olympic Council of Asia. And most recently, he has been selected as chairman of the Education Committee for the World Taekwondo Federation.
So, I cannot think of a better mentor than you, Master Perez. So, what is your message to the youth of this generation? A lot of times when I talk to the youth, half the time, of course, they're looking at their phones. But what is your message to the youth, and what do you think the importance of martial art systems like Taekwondo or any other art has in this web presence?
So I had to think about that a little bit even before the question, and I had to think about that early on when I was doing various things. And I realized to change a student is to change one person's life, which is why I like teaching. But to change an instructor is to change many lives. So I focused on changing instructors and, quite frankly, sometimes parents. So one of the messages I give to parents and my instructors is to remember that you're a role model. So in my community, I carry myself as a role model. I understand that responsibility. I don't do certain things. I don't say certain things. I don't wear certain types of clothes. I realize that at this stage of my life, what I think and feel about my personal expression is secondary to then what my role is in my community. So I have accepted the role of being a role model for my youngsters here in my community as an elected official, but more importantly, based upon what I do as a martial art. So when I speak to parents and I watch my parents, I think, get that with respect to themselves and their children. However, sometimes I think they miss that when it comes to just their general. So with my instructors and parents, I remind them that we all serve as a role model for our children and our community. So I think that's what I try to tell our children and our community. As far as our children go, I point to my life and where I came from, my humble beginnings, and as a result of my Taekwondo training, what I have been able to achieve. My mother was unable to graduate to 10th grade because she had to take care of her family when her father passed away. My father was 6th grade, and he had to take care of his family. So between the two of them, they only had a 6th and a 10th grade education. I was the first person in my extended family to graduate high school, college, law school, graduate school, and certainly some of the other things that I've been able to do. So I use myself as a personal example to those students to say, this is what's possible if you're willing to sacrifice. The comments about the phones and the internet and all that sort of stuff, it's an interesting balancing game. And having young children myself, we're very defined about the times that they can. My children don't have that sort of access to electronics. Actually, 5 out of 7 days. And even on the other 2
they don't
days,
watch TV at all.
no, they have nothing. They have books. They're voracious readers. They enjoy the time that they spend with each other, and with me they have music lessons, dance lessons, singing lessons, athletics. My son does flag football, taekwondo, soccer, and so we pick things that will keep their minds active. And there are tons of studies that say an active mind at this age, and that engages in those abstract concepts, whether it's art, music, or dance, that's a mind that will have great cognitive skills if you use it as part of that. So we focus on, and quite frankly, the public schools can't. They don't have the resources or the money to, and they've made a choice not to.
Our journey continues as we look at Grandmaster Herbert Perez's work as ex-mayor and council member in the city of Foster City. Next week, we join you same place, same time at Artist Today.